All right, question number 2. We'll begin with Senator Thatcher again. If the state legislature is unable to agree on redistricting next year, it'll be up to the Secretary of State. How would you ensure a fair redistricting plan?
I have, from the very beginning, supported the Initiative Petition 57, which is a redistricting plan that was almost put on the ballot, but it didn't quite make it there. This would have, I think, the fairest chance of making sure that we have a nonpartisan drawing of the lines. And I think that's very important that we keep partisanship out of it. Yes, I was in the legislature the last time the redistricting boundary lines were drawn, and Republicans were not in power at the time, and they agreed to this plan simply because they felt that the Secretary of State would have put a more partisan slant on it. In fact, my opponent is the beneficiary of that redistricting. One of the districts that was served by a former colleague of mine had to be, he didn't win re-election simply because the district turned against him as far as the party is concerned. I would rather us not look so much at party, but we focus on the people, and we focus on the things that really create our state, and we focus on the things that are important to Oregonians, but also in the statute. Let's look at the people. Let's make sure that we are focusing on the people. I really think it's important to have a nonpartisan drawing of the lines. My opponent has taken $100,000 from the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, I think it was called. And I just have to question whether that means that she would be leaning towards having Democratic redistricting, because it says that they would like to tilt the playing field a little bit more towards the Democrats. And I just don't think that's the way we should be operating in the state. We need to make it people-centered, community-centered, and not based on partisan politics.
All right, Senator, thank you. Senator Shemia Fagan, same question. If the state legislature is unable to agree on redistricting, it'll be up to the Secretary of State. How would you ensure a fair redistricting plan?
Well, redistricting is incredibly important because it essentially charts who Oregon is going to be in terms of representation for the next decade. And I think it's really important that, and Oregonians know, that we shouldn't have politicians drawing their own boundaries like Senator Thatcher did in 2011. And just to correct something she said, actually she was in the House at the time, and there were 30 Democrats and 30 Republicans in the House the last time the legislature did redistricting. So counter to what she said, the Democrats were not in the majority in the House at the time that she voted to draw her own boundaries. And of course, she drew herself a very nice, safe Republican district where she hasn't had any real challenge in that district. And then she mentioned me defeating an incumbent friend of hers. And I hope that we can both agree, Senator Thatcher, that the goal of redistricting is not to protect incumbents, but to give Oregonians fair representation. So I would do redistricting using a People's Commission, which is like an independent commission, but it corrects the faulty representation of the redistricting commission, for example, in California, where they have an independent commission with racial and equity goals, but they failed to meet those goals. A People's Commission would actually be rooted in racial equity. When we're talking about redistricting, we're talking about the census, and we can't ignore the fact that when our country was first founded, not even all people were counted as full people with the 3/5 clause. And so I think it's important that we have racial equity as a core of that to ensure true representation. And I'm very proud to be endorsed by the group that was formed by President Obama and his Attorney General Eric Holder called the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, an organization whose core mission is to end partisan gerrymandering, an organization that Senator Thatcher actually praised in a video where she talked about President Obama. And so clearly she sought their support, but then didn't get it because they see me as the candidate who will truly end partisan gerrymandering here in Oregon.
All right. Okay, Senator Thatcher, now you have 30 seconds.
Republicans were not in control of the legislature. Yeah, they had a 30-30 split in the House, and big deal because they didn't have the governor's office and they didn't have the legislature overall. And as far as redistricting, and I've learned my lesson that that is not the best way to do it. I would much rather have the Constitution changed where we have an independent redistricting commission. It didn't happen. I pledge to honor what was in the spirit of that law.
All right, thank you very
proposed
much.
law.
Senator Fagan, 30 seconds as well.
Well, again, I'm the only one of the two of us who has actually been a politician who's drawn her own boundaries, who's picked her own voters. And it's nice that she has a change of heart now, but she was in a very safe Republican district that she drew for herself for many, many years prior to running for Secretary of State.
Very good. Thank you very much, ladies. We're about halfway through our program now. We're going to change things up just a little bit. Instead of my yakking at you and asking questions, we're going to let you ask each other a question. And we'll begin with Senator Thatcher once again. So, Senator, you can ask Senator Fagan a question, and each of you will get time to respond on each question as well.
All right. You said if elected to be Secretary of State, you won't be partisan. But how can we trust you when, first, during the primary, you said a couple of times in public appearances, it matters that the Secretary of State is a Democrat? Second, you just accepted a $100,000 contribution from the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, and their website says they want to shift redistricting power where Democrats can compete. Third, in the last 3 weeks of your campaign, recently, you have given $125,000 to the Democrat Party of Oregon, and finally, all your campaign signs say Democrat for Secretary of State. So how do we trust you're not going to be partisan?
Well, I'm proud to be supported by a broad coalition in this race, including the President Obama and Holder group, whose goal is to end partisan gerrymandering across the country. But if the question is, how would I be independent? I've been the lone no vote in my party more than one occasion. I actually am in the Senate because I defeated an incumbent Democrat to join the Oregon Senate, and I worked with Republicans to pass the national popular vote over the objections of the three most powerful Democrats in the Senate. And so I have shown independence. In fact, in my primary, the Bend Bulletin endorsed me saying, quote, Fagan has a track record of being straight with Oregonians when things aren't working as they should.
All right, very good. Would you like 30 seconds to rebut that, Senator Thatcher?
Well, I see the wide coalition of people that support you as being left and then lefter. I don't see people from the right supporting you or people from the middle supporting you. It just seems like you are wanting to follow along with what the big government interests want you to follow along with, and as well as what the governor wants you to do. So that's how I see your independence.
Very good. All right. Now you get 30 seconds again to address.
Yeah, I mean, let's not be silly here. Kim is the Republican in the race. I'm a Democrat in the race. And the reason she doesn't want to put Republican on her lawn signs is she realizes the president is not very popular here in Oregon. When I said in the primary that I think it's important that it's a Democrat as Secretary of State, I particularly named a few Republicans in the past, Mark Hatfield, Tom McCall, Norma Paulus, who aren't allies of this president, who is out here bashing vote by mail. Kim Thatcher is an ally and was a delegate for him in the 2016 convention.
All right, very good. Right on time. Senator Fagan, now it's your turn. You get to ask Senator Thatcher a question.
Thank you. Kim, you've touted your experience as a business owner, but continue to dodge questions about the $63,000 fine your company was ordered to pay after your company was investigated for contracting fraud against the state. And your company, quote, engaged in a cover-up with a, quote, willingness to deceive after making up fake invoices and intentionally destroying evidence. The judge's words, not mine. You've actually accused me of lying about your business, so I'm actually going to give you a chance to tell me and us specifically what did I just say that wasn't true about your business.
Well, first of all, yes, my company had a dispute with ODOT, and we went to court. ODOT was the defendant. And we still do business with ODOT today. We had settled that issue, and we'd moved on. And we paid a $63,000, what the state had used to defend their case, and not nearly what they had asked for. Just normal prevailing party fees and costs of the attorneys, costs for copying, costs for, different things like that. It was not a fine as you have characterized it. And if those allegations were true, we would not be doing business with ODOT today. We'd be out of business. And the fact is we do continue to do business with ODOT as well as 2 other departments of transportation. Now, having said that, I do believe that it is important for me to not have a conflict of interest if I am elected Secretary of State. So I will be working with attorneys to separate myself from my companies in a way that will reduce and eliminate whatever I need to do to eliminate that conflict of interest. I am proud to be able to help 50 or more people put bread on the table, and I do have a great business for the people of Oregon and Washington and Idaho. And I am still successful after 28 years of being in a business that has very complicated issues and very complicated contracts, and disputes happen. The fact is we still do business with ODOT. And that is what's misleading about what you have said.
You get 30 seconds, Senator Fagan.
To be clear, she didn't deny that the judge found they made up fake invoices, engaged in a cover-up, a willingness to deceive. She simply said that the word fine isn't what the judge used. The judge actually used the word sanction, to be clear. But folks, I know that you don't want to see us go into a back and forth. The good thing in Oregon is you can literally Google it with a ballot in hand. So just Google Kim Thatcher contracting fraud. You'll find an Oregonian story entitled "Oregon Legislators' Firm Caught in Suspected Contracting Fraud, a Cover-Up." And you'll also find the 2014 editorial where the Oregonian removed their endorsement of her after finding out about this contracting fraud.
Thank you, Senator. You get 30 seconds, Senator Thatcher, to respond.
Well, absolutely, I deny the charges, and there was nothing that the company did that was found to have been what was alleged. But it's kind of funny that you want to run the Secretary of State's office, and then within 7 years from you being elected, you had to have 5 of your businesses administratively closed down because you couldn't file the right paperwork. You're an attorney. It seems like you would know better. And this is the Secretary of State's office you want to run.
All right.
Can I respond to that? Because she brought up a new allegation.
No, I'm sorry. That was all the time we have. We've had time for rebuttal and answering the question. You will get time to address us in your closing statements if you'd like to hold that for then.